the first thing is, I'd say don't grow old. And two, the thing is that it's a time now to realize that you really have one really useful goal in life, and that's to say, make somebody else happy. And if you can do that in your life, you've done just about anything you can do. And so I always regretted having not done anything. And maybe I left some friends there, but I doubt it. Anyway, I think it's my advice to you is to look for the situation that lets you really help somebody and changes his or her life. And because that's the most you can accomplish in your life. So that sound right? Anyway, say yes. And everybody say yes.
Does anyone have any questions you'd like to ask Mr. Mcconnell? Some of the things that you're thinking about, because everyone's going to be interviewing.
The answer is I'll be working on it and I'll get back to you.
How often do you see your daughters?
How often do you get to see your daughters?
Huh?
How often do you get to see your daughters?
Oh, I see them quite often, actually. We have breakfast together, and we have dinners together too, where the dinners might be a little expensive, and they need somebody to pay for it. So, when the check comes, everybody looks away, and I end up grabbing the bill. Anyway, but if they realize it or not, it's the most enjoyable times I have nowadays, having lunch with my own little clan. 9 of us, and 10 of us if we include the Kobe's grandson's girlfriend. And our next event is to go in to see Harry Potter at the Center for Performing Arts, which is next Sunday or something. That's sometime around there. So all 10 of us will be there, and we'll have a nice dinner beforehand. And that is the best experience I have nowadays, is going there. And I used to go to ball games and things, but I can't manage the steps and stairs anymore. And so I quit that. And still going to the symphony. I'm a subscriber to the symphony, and actually to the opera now too, because I took one of these Ollie classes on the opera. And I said, oh, well, as long as I took the class, I might as well take the season, but the opera is what I always thought it was. It's a big farce. But I see a lot of old people really enjoy that, so I guess I'm one of them. Anyway, so I have a season subscription to that too. So, and, big farce, I say, I mean, it's like it's a 45-year-old woman acting like a teenager. And I asked about that in the opera class here at Ollie, and they said yes, it's true. The opera as a start was only given to very important people in a small room, and the actors there were teenagers, and the teenagers became opera stars, just like rock stars are today. In those days, it was the opera singers that were the big stars. But then the opera rooms got big, and you had to project your voice. So a opera singer had to have a large voice and learn how to sing from the chest. And, anyway, I don't know, still don't know how you do that, but that's what they said. So that's how opera is what it is today. The storyline is about really young kids, and the cast, the crew, and everybody is very old. Even the music is old. And so if you're an opera fan, forgive me for bad mouthing it, but that's the way I feel. But I enjoy it. It's a good trip out of the house. And the best part of going to the opera, I think, is coming home. Coming home about 10:30, 11, and stopping at the restaurant. Denny's, stopping at Denny's and getting the banana split. You like it too? Yeah, it's a big thing with bananas and 3 scoops of ice cream and all the whipped cream you could want on it. And I enjoyed that. Best part of going to the opera is having banana split. Very unhealthy, but what the heck. You only live once.
Sandra, you had a question?
Oh yeah, I was just curious if you ever tried to learn Japanese to communicate.
My hearing aid's not working now.
That's okay.
If
So
you want to just relay it.
he asked if, since you didn't get to grow up learning Japanese,
Huh?
he asked if, since you didn't get to grow up learning Japanese, if you ever thought that that was something that you tried to do later or that you wanted to do later.
Well, yes, before the war, 39, I think, all those kids went to a Japanese school to learn writing. And I got up to the second alphabet. You see, look, if you think of printing, that's called katakana. I don't know what it was called, but that's the basic language or basic writing. And then there's the second level, which is which is sort of like a script, like handwriting, and which is the same alphabet, only the script is different. And then there's Chinese characters that are same as the Chinese language, which are actually icons. You have to memorize what they say. So we never got that far, but I did get to the second alphabet. Now the Japanese alphabet had 51 characters, and if you think of A-E-I-O-U, that was one. And if you took A-E-I-A-U 10 times over and made 50 sounds, that was the Japanese alphabet. A-E-I-O-U, and then it would go ba-be, boo, B-U, or boo, or and ka-ke, ku-ke, ko, and it went on that way to make the 50 letters in the alphabet. And then there was one on the end called ing, which is, I guess it's NG, which wouldn't fit in any of those other squares. And so it was a 51st letter. So that's what we were learning up until the time the war started. And then suddenly, we didn't dare go there anymore. And so that was the extent of my learning Japanese. And the books we were reading in that Japanese school was what I would compare to the kindergarten books that you see the kindergarten kids read. Anyway, it's a little duck swimming around and one of them say something. Anyway, things like that. And the thing about language is that there was no language in Japan until well, this I learned from a class in Japanese history that I took here in Harvard. They said in up to the early after the early BC, there was no language in Japan, and the only language that came in was from these Chinese scholars that came in that left these Chinese characters. And so there are a lot of Chinese characters that are in the Japanese language, and where you couldn't use a character, you use this alphabet. So that was the Japanese. But as far as conversational Japanese, I really didn't know anything. My parents talked to us, yes, but it was sort of like a grunt and a groan and do this and pointing at that and that kind of stuff. So it really wasn't a conversation, and I never did have a decent conversation with either one of my parents. Yeah. But as you can see, I got over it really fine.
Did your parents feel comfortable speaking Japanese in public? Or was
Did my parents speak comfortable? I guess they had to. My father spoke a lot better English than did my mother, because my mother was a stay-at-home. But my father was, part of his work. He was a gardener, went around as a contract gardener. Knew quite a bit of English, actually, even though he never formally studied it.
in the camps, could you speak in the camps, could you speak Japanese?
What's that?
In the camps, were you allowed to speak Japanese?
Oh, I don't know if it's being allowed. You just spoke what you spoke of. No, there was no language problem in Japanese there. It's kind of a strange, you think of concentration camps in Europe and everything, but this is quite different. In fact, there's a lot of administrators and things there. They lived in their own area in their camp, but they lived in the same type of buildings that we did. And of course, they ate a little better than us. Like, when we had chicken dinners, it meant chicken bones, chicken backbones and things. But up there, they had the breast of the chicken up there for their dinner. So one of my brothers worked up there in the kitchen there, and he managed to bring a lot of that stuff home with him. But it was a different grade of food than we ate. But otherwise, they lived in the camp, and they went to the same school that we did. And because I know that one of the best friends I had in junior high school there he was a guy from one of the administrations. What the administrators did, I don't know what they did. But